For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe.
When discussing OIT, you'll often see arguments about horses. The reason for this is that the Rig Veda, the earliest Sanskrit text, depicts society as very much a horse-breeding society. Horses feature prominently in it, so OIT proponents think that if they can find some horse bones from Harappan culture, they can more easily claim that Harappan culture and Vedic culture were one and the same. But so far, no reliable evidence of horse remains has been found in South Asia's archaeological sites dating back before the end of the second millennium BCE. Although many claims exist, few include sufficient measurements, drawings, or photographs for independent analysis. Compounding the issue, some of these remains are from archaeological layers that may be much younger than the main artifacts found at sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. Identifications, however accurate, are less meaningful if the bones lack well-defined contexts. However, there is no doubt that horses were present in South Asia by at least the end of the first quarter of the second millennium BCE, or possibly by the beginning of the second millennium, as suggested by figurine evidence at Perak and painted pottery from the Swat Valley, both from the early second millennium. But this is right around the time of the proposed Indo-Aryan migration. Claims about horse remains are contested due to the limited quantity of remains and challenges in distinguishing between true horses and other equids, as well as the potential for contamination from later periods in archaeological layers. So current archaeological consensus remains cautious about confirming the presence of true horses in South Asia at this time, and the few relics resembling horses do not conclusively support a 3rd millennium BCE presence in the region. Possible horse representations, such as figurines or terracotta artifacts from Indus Valley sites like Lothal, Kunal, and Surkotada, have sometimes been cited as evidence of horses in South Asia during or prior to the Harappan period. Although some figurines and art suggest horse-like features, they are open to interpretation. Other equids may have existed there at the time. Researchers also note that trade and importation of horses from Central Asia into the region were likely key, supporting the idea that horses became significant in South Asia only in the second millennium BCE. Keep in mind that the presence of a few odd horses in Harappan contexts does not in itself demonstrate that they were a horse-breeding society. Horses can be acquired through trade. If Harappan culture and Vedic culture are identical, we would expect there to be horses found all over Harappan sites, or at least at some sites in large quantities. That being said, it is possible that the scarcity of horse bones may partly be due to environmental conditions, and the Harappans' apparent preference for not using horses in burials, which contributes to their limited presence in the archaeological record. Absence of evidence is not necessarily evidence of absence, but from an archaeozoological perspective, we have no evidence of horse breeding in Harappan society. I should probably mention the Bhimbetka caves, which are sometimes brought up by OIT proponents. They show images of people riding horses on the walls, and say Bhimbetka has art in it that dates back to the Mesolithic period. But what they leave out, or perhaps don't know, is that the art in the cave comes from a range of time periods, stretching all the way into the historical era. So the images of the people riding horses may very well be, and likely are, from later times. Sonali chariots. The discovery of chariots at the Sonali archaeological site in Uttar Pradesh, India, is an intriguing find that some in the OIT camp have latched onto as evidence that the theory of Indo-Aryan migration is wrong. In 2018, the Archaeological Survey of India unearthed several chariots from burial sites at Sonali dating roughly to 2000 to 1800 BCE. The chariots were found alongside copper helmets, swords, shields, and other artifacts in burial pits, indicating a high level of craftsmanship and metalworking skills in this ancient society. The chariots were decorated with copper fittings and adorned with geometric patterns, suggesting both functionality and a ritualistic or symbolic purpose. The construction of these chariots appears to have been lightweight and two-wheeled, designed for speed and agility, potentially for use in warfare or ceremonial purposes. Some have argued that this discovery suggests an indigenous development of chariot technology rather than it being a direct import from Western or Central Asia. Others see it as potential evidence of cultural exchange or influence from outside the region. Still others argue that these weren't chariots at all, but two-wheeled wagons driven by oxen. No horse remains, you see, were found on site. I think the context points more towards the idea that these are war chariots, and it is indeed true that the Sonali finds suggest that a more advanced technology was in the Indian subcontinent earlier than previously thought, challenging existing theories about the diffusion of chariot technology. But the date of the chariots, around 1900 BCE, places them in the late Harappan period or the early Vedic age. Even if the people here had horses and chariots of the Indo-European style, it is still within the general time frame usually given for the Indo-Aryan migration into the region, though perhaps a wee bit earlier. But then there is the question of whether they are Indo-Aryan chariots at all. Horse-driven chariots of the Indo-European style have spoked wheels, and although the Sonali chariots have decoration resembling spokes, they are in fact solid wheels, and there are no elements at the site that I'm aware of that would conclusively characterize it as an Indo-European or Indo-Aryan site. Hopefully, forthcoming excavations will reveal more.